Hi, I'm IKEA, and I'm here to give you only the tip. In-game time. As a subject, it is actually a lot more complex than you would think, as it is a little bit timey-wimey, wibbly-wobbly, as we'll go into that. But also, it is, of course, very important for some things like the hunters, and also for other things that aren't as obvious. First off, you can always find what the current in-game time is by going into the main menu and looking in the upper right, where we see that it is now currently a little past 3 in the afternoon. And the two questions that most people will then have is, how long is a day in real life time? And how long is an hour in real life time? The first one is very easy to answer. That is 72 minutes for an in-game day. That is just set, and every day is 72 minutes, 24 minutes times 3, basically. From that, we can kind of derive that each hour averages about 3 minutes. And as you may have guessed there, me saying it averages, yes, the hours are very convoluted and kind of complex. And for that, there is already actually an in-depth guide on my channel, both with a video and an in-depth guide written, although the guide is not that in-depth. But especially what it has is this chart, as we'll look at now, as we'll zoom in a little. On it, we can see that it is the seconds per hour, together with every in-game hour collated together, as I've timed several days years ago at this point and collated that data. As we see here, the length varies per hour, and this is the kind of thing that kind of tripped people up, and also the reason why, basically, as far as I could find, nobody before me really spent the time to kind of go through all of this and figure it out, as this question was one that I wanted to answer because nobody really had a good answer to it. And those are always the good questions, when nobody really has an answer and you want to go figure it out. What we see here is that there is basically two kind of mountains here, and then 3 valleys. Of course, this valley kind of rolls over onto this end. It seems to be that the hours of night and a few hours in the afternoon are kind of shortened, and that's kind of put on the hours kind of around sunrise and sunsets. And that's kind of actually what my speculation is, why this is done. And that is to elongate the hours that are sunrise and sunset, because they're the coolest hours, kind of, when the sun is coming up and everything is kind of illuminated from that shallow angle. The game kind of looks a lot better, and so as well when the sun is setting. But usually where this kind of things would be obfuscated and the in-game time would not be shown to be this wibbly-wobbly, in the Division it is, and it just shows it, just wears it on its sleeve. And together with that, it is handy to know that the game recognizes the hours between 2100, so 9 at night, to 6 in the morning, 0600, as being nighttime. Now, that does matter, especially for the hunters, as a lot of the hunters are nightbound and you have to do them at those times. But another important thing with nighttime is that actually during nighttime hours, less activities spawn in. That means that when you are clearing a map and doing activities and such and going around and grabbing all of these for their juicy XP, during nighttime hours, less will respawn. Anything that is on the map will kind of stay, but whenever you clear them, it is less likely to repopulate that spot again. And that means that at nighttime, if you kind of roam a zone, you will kind of run out of activities to do. This was already very obvious in the olden days when we were doing convoy farming. Now, as well with public executions, one thing you can do is get the public executions in during the day hours, and then during the night hours, go and do the bounties, for instance, because those, of course, are not restricted by time. Furthermore, it is important to know that everybody is on the same time, generally, as everybody in the open world in New York and DC will be on the same time. But there are places where there is a kind of a special time, and for instance, the intro to Woni has one of those. But even so, if we actually pay attention here, that it is quarter past 7 in the afternoon, 1916 there. When we jump here to Coney Island and let it load, Coney Island is on a special time, as the game really wants it to be nighttime whenever you do it. So whenever we transfer to there, we will be that time, but we can't carry that time over back. It will be the global time again when we go back, because here we see that we jumped quite a bit to just being after 9 o'clock, just so the game can have darkness here. But yeah, there is no other ways of accelerating or slowing down the game time for the places where it matters, where activities exist. This is mostly done in the off-site missions where set times happen, and in the lead-in to Wony, for instance, as well. It is a set time whenever you do the initial assault on the city hall and then go to Haven. That is also, for instance, a set time. There are moments like that, but as far as I am aware, we can't use those to manipulate time outside in DC or New York. And that kind of concludes our only tips on in-game time, as we went over it being 72 minutes for an in-game day, averaging out to indeed that 3 minutes for an in-game hour on average. But yeah, it's a little bit more complex than that, weirdly. And it does matter, especially for the hunters, but also for in-game activities, which also generally matter. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did and found it informative, please do any and all of the algorithm things down below. It does help out. So I will shill and ask for those. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want more than just the tip of the iceberg here, you can go and watch the in-depth guide that is linked down below. It is a much longer video that also goes into a Reddit post that I made initially about this, which I went with a kind of humorous tone and went into kind of a story time of how I went about actually figuring all of this out and collating all this data. So if you are interested, do jump to those. I hope you join me for future videos, and this was only the tip.